All right, welcome back. You know, it's not too often you see Walmart in the news for pay cuts, but it's happening. The nation's largest retailer has noticed a slowdown and is now cutting pay for new store hires. Now, that's got to be pretty damning evidence that things aren't really doing that well and we are slowing down. Who else would be better placed to see something like this than Walmart? It doesn't get much better when you look at our grocery stores, our big grocers across the country. Now, grocery giant Kroger now expects sales to dip in the second half of 2023. Now, they're predicting further pressure on consumers who are already being squeezed due to high prices, interest rates, and their own personal debt. Now, the Kroger CFO mentioned that he expects inflation to continue to decelerate, but the environment will continue to still be very challenging for the consumer. In fact, he believes sales will be even more slightly negative in the second half of this year than they had previously guided and suggested. So there's not a ton of sunshine in the grocery world either. So Walmart and Kroger see something that Bidenomics does not see. And my next guest sees it too, I think. Please welcome into the show, Rebecca Walser. Rebecca, it's hard to argue with the people that are at the coalface of the problem, and that would be Walmart and Kroger. And one of them's got to do with food. I mean, well, actually, they both do to some degree. That doesn't bode well, if you ask me, at all.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you see Kroger projecting the second half of the year sales will be lower when it's groceries that people are buying and they still have to eat. So interesting. Are they springing for ice cream when they can't afford it in the second half of the year? I don't know. But what we've seen, Scott, from an economic data perspective is we've definitely seen real hourly wages go up to keep up with inflation, although it's a net negative. You actually have not kept up with inflation, but we've definitely had hourly wages rise. And so what we like to look at is the actual production weekly that is produced by the Fed to see, are the hours getting cut? Because once labor gets too expensive, what do hourly workers and employers do? They cut hours. And so then once they start cutting hours, then we start to see the unemployment trend on a leading indicator. And you and I have talked about this before. So we definitely have seen labor softening in the last 3-4 weeks, I would say. And that is a big problem for Powell because that is the one thing that he has relied upon to keep the interest rates being raised. And so now we're definitely starting to see softness and weakening in labor. And what's interesting is the Wall Street Journal had an entire piece on, wow, this one person had this massive 3 or 4 offers, and then she decided not to do anything. She went back now to look. That's the other thing that we're starting to see is labor force participation is ticking back up because people are through with their savings. They're burning through their credit cards. They're realizing I have to actually go back and work again. And that's why unemployment ticked up in August, because we have more labor force participation again, because people are realizing I actually have to deal with this now. It's not going away. So we're absolutely seeing softening in labor, and people are not getting the offers. And this goes to your story about Walmart cutting hourly starting pay because they see that they can get away with it now, whereas before they had to raise wages to attract the employers.
Yeah, a lot of the economists out there believe that if you really want to see us get on top of this inflation problem, because it looks as though we just talked about in the last segment, it's ticking higher. And again, with oil being out there, that's going to be another problem. Exactly. So if you really want to get on top of it, these folks think that you need to see unemployment with a 5 in front of it. I mean, that's where they want to have it in order to really break the back of it and get started, because we've had 15 years of basically free money. I mean, where do you stand? I mean, 3.5 to 3.8 was the change in the unemployment rate the last time we had the read. Right. That's a decent percentage jump if you look at it like that. And that's got to continue for the Fed to really get where they want to be. But because every time I've been in a tavern saying that I think this economy is no good, all of those people out there with the rose-colored lenses on throw the unemployment rate right in my face every single time. It's been a hard one to explain away, hasn't it?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, people do not understand that there was so much stimulus in the system that people did not go back to work after Corona, and employers really had to make the attractive offers. Hybrid schedule, work from home. Here's an extra 10,000, and so you can say all day long unemployment has been really low, but when you start to look at the participation rate, you will see why it's been low. And as people realize this free ride does not last forever, and I actually have to go back and make money again, that's when the employers are like, fine. The power balance is shifting back to the employers now, Scott, and they are definitely taking advantage of that by cutting starting wages, cutting hours for those who have gotten hourly wage increases. And, Powell forecasted this, Scott. He definitely has told us that it's going to be painful, and he has said that in words. It's going to be painful to get, you can't print $10 trillion and put, filter it through the economy and not see prices go up massively. So this is what we're dealing with. And now we have to deal with the repercussions of inflation and the oil crisis and OPEC plus Russia, 300,000 barrels a day, and Saudi Arabia, 1 million cuts, productions extended through the end of the year. That, I heard an analysis that MBS needs oil prices around $100 a barrel in order to do the economic projects that he wants. So he's definitely got an agenda pushing, and the rest of the world might not be on the same page.
I unfortunately think that if they smell weakness there too, that they'll be able to think they can push it, and they probably will get there. That's another big problem. So we got about just under a minute left. I still think we've got some uncomfortable and pretty and maybe hurtful slowing down to come to this economy. What do you think?
There is no soft landing. I did a podcast 2.5 weeks ago about the 5 economic reasons that there is not going to be a soft landing. It's just not mathematically possible. We do not have enough liquidity in the system on a consumption-based system to have a soft landing. There is no soft landing. There is going to be pain. Yeah,
I mean, that's the problem. And I hate to see it. And I don't want to be right. I don't think you want to be right. But
no, of course not.
It's hard to argue with the numbers. And that's when you take away the emotion and you take away the fluff and everybody that's got their idea about what they want to try to get their point across and their nefarious attitudes. No, it comes down to the numbers, and they just don't add up.
That's right. That is 100% right. This is a mathematical equation that they can't fudge the math on. And they've been able to do a really good job for a really long time. Right. Lower for longer, stimulus forever, but it is over now, and we're going to feel the pain. Maybe they'll put a mask on the numbers. Who knows? All right. I appreciate you coming on. Rebecca Walser coming to us from Tampa. Thanks for being on the show, Rebecca. Love having you on. All right. By now, I've got my go-tos. I look at them every morning. That's gold oil.